Listen to a few things that we want to share with you. Usually at the top of the questions that we get are questions about an update on the city manager's search. So we want to give you a few details about that. I don't want to go into a whole long reading of an update, but generally I want to let people know that we are still getting a lot of interest in our position. And I think that's encouraging because that speaks well of the city. It tells people that people are looking at our positions and they want to come here to Topeka and be our city manager. So I think that's important to know. We have well over 30 applicants so far, and those applicants are far ranging. We have them from one coast to the other coast, but we do have amongst those at least 10 applicants, I believe, Bill, that have a connection with Kansas. So that was something we were really trying to look for and to draw out in our application. So we're pleased with that. We will continue to receive those. I think what's the July
15th.
July 15th is when the close date is. So at that time, then the city manager, current interim city manager, and staff will look at those applications and bring them to the body after they've done a lot of verification of information and vet them to the needs and job description that we have posted. So I'm encouraged that people are looking at Topeka as a good place to come and work as our city managers. That's very, very important, I think, to bring out. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, and the city manager will help me out on this one, I also want to do a request to the community, because there are a number of commissions and committees and boards that serve the city, and people do this on a volunteer basis. They find that interest in their community and step forward and serve on these committees. Well, right now we have a couple, 3 openings that we're having a little difficulty in filling, but I want to make sure that people understand they are welcome to apply and where to go to apply. Right now we have 1 opening on the Human Relations Commission, the HRC, and we have 2 openings on the Civil Service Commission. Sometimes people don't know exactly what their responsibilities or the time commitment would be when they serve on these committees. So I want to give a little detail and ask the city manager to speak specifically to the Civil Service Commission and what its function is for the city.
Yeah, the Civil Service Commission is extremely important for the city of Topeka. What that commission does is actually reviews and interviews all police and fire applicants and then make recommendations to the chief as to course of hirement or non-hirement. And so it's extremely important, this commission. We have 2 positions opening on that commission right now. And, if you've been paying attention to the police community committee that's been meeting over the last year and a half or so, the final recommendation asked for increased involvement from that commission. And it seems to make a lot of sense in that aspect when you look that the commission is involved in the entry-level stages of hiring these individuals and interviewing them and make recommendations on hirement. It stands to make sense that that commission have involvement throughout the career of those officers and firefighters as they continue on. So it's an extremely important commission, and time involvement is not over the top, but like I said, it does review police and fire applicants and meets quite often to discuss protocols and things like that. So keeping in mind that also there may be an enhanced role for those positions out of the police community commission. So again, extremely important, very vital to the success of the police and fire departments. And so if you are interested in that, I would highly recommend that you visit our website and contact the mayor's office.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill. And just to reiterate, a lot of folks wonder how they can participate in selecting the men and women who serve the city in those very essential capacities of fire and police service. And this is one of those ways that you can take a very active part in who gets the opportunity to serve the city. We try to keep that commission membership representative of the population here in Topeka, and take every consideration into filling those positions for that purpose. So again, I encourage people to consider it. Go to the Topeka website. You can look it up and see what the qualifications are and some of the time commitment. And if you have any direct questions you'd like to ask about serving on that commission, call my office. I'll be more than glad to visit with you about it. Same goes for the Human Relations Commission, just as well. We try to staff that with volunteers that generally represent the cross-section of the city of Topeka population, and it's just as important. They have a role in looking at law enforcement as well, because they look at some of the reports that we get from our independent police auditor, and so they have an opportunity as well to participate. And that's something that we've really tried to emphasize, is citizen participation. I like to refer to it that way rather than input, because input doesn't mean that you get your hands dirty. Participation means that you get involved and you do something. And that's what we really need, is that participation. So I appreciate any consideration people may have for that. One thing that, of course, that we want to talk about is fireworks. With the holiday coming up, there are restrictions that we have put in place, and we do them for the safety and consideration of the public. And we want to make sure that people understand them. We want them to be safe, foremost, but we still want them to understand their responsibilities for the firing of the fireworks here in Topeka. City Manager, you want to review just those very easy to remember restrictions?
Yeah, well, as you know, fireworks can be purchased now in the city, but the restrictions are they cannot be shot until July 3rd and July 4th. July 3rd, 11 o'clock is the latest they can be shot off, and on July 4th, it's midnight. We ask that everybody comply with that ordinance, and if you are in violation of that ordinance, you may be ticketed, and their fireworks can also be seized. So we ask that you respect everybody's peace and quiet after those hours, and on the days leading up to the 3rd and 4th, we ask that you respect the ordinance, and that it is one of those time of the year that's exciting for a lot of people, but it also is weighs heavy on other folks. So please obey the ordinance, and so our local law enforcement and fire department won't be busy running down a lot of those type of calls.
Thank you. One thing I want to bring up too, and ask the city manager to speak quickly to it, and that is that if you've been following the city council meetings, you know that we've been given direction to our city finance director to work on the upcoming budget with direction from the council. And I think, Bill, you might have something to offer right now.
Yeah, July 5th will be the first publishing of the budget. So citizens will be able to go and view that online and take a look at the first budget draft that will be presented to the mayor and the governing body.
And we encourage you to look at that. Take some time to visit, dig through it. There's a lot of information there, but I think it's important that we make it available to the public so that they can see what the council is working on as a whole for those budget considerations. So I encourage you to visit that site. The one thing I want to mention is that Thursday, June 30th at 10:30, there'll be a press review of the mayor's art initiative. It's something that I wanted to get done when I came into office, and that is I wanted the mayor's office to reflect this community, and one way to do that is with art. And another way to do that is to make sure everyone has an opportunity to display their works in interpreting what their life is in art, what they think about the city in art. I have some hanging in the office right now that are pictures, not pictures, but art renderings of the Capitol, and they're in different modes and different styles. So I think that's important. And what is important that is that the art that is here is from residents of the city of Topeka. So it represents our community. And I think it's something that will, I think, open this office to the public as it being representative of the entire community. Our curator is making pains to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity. There's a schedule of who will be displaying throughout the year. And I think at tomorrow's press conference, maybe we can make that schedule available to the community so people can plan ahead when they might want to come in and take a look. Now, understanding that the city building is a secure building and city mayor's office is a secure office, but there will be times if you can make arrangements through my office with Jane Murray, my executive assistant, when I will be there and when it will be open so that people can come by and take a quick visit. So I encourage people to look at that press release tomorrow and the viewing of the, on Thursday, excuse me. I keep wanting to think, jump ahead a day. It's Thursday the 30th at 10:30, I believe. Yes. Give people get a chance to see what the mayor's office looks like. We've got some pretty impressive art. We have some very talented people in Topeka. And that's why we have the murals that we have around town that you see. And encourage those. They really are expressive of the community. So I wanted to bring that up. And then I think if we've covered all our topics, go ahead and ask if there are any particular questions you'd like to ask of myself and the city manager.
Mayor, a couple of quick questions, and I'll defer to others too. But as back to the city manager position, so it sounds like about 30 have applied at this point, and then the cutoff is, I believe, what, the 15th?
Correct.
What will be the process after that? How long do you anticipate that going? Will the public get to meet the finalists, as has happened in the past, I think maybe? And when do you look for maybe a final decision?
City manager.
A lot of questions, but.
And Billy?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and we've talked about that process quite often. So what will happen is, after the candidates are nailed down, and then there will be interview panels, there'll be interviews with the governing body, and then there is a panel of community individuals that is being put together, that is being facilitated out of the mayor's office. So on that day, they'll have interviews with the governing body, they'll have an interview with the community panel, then there will be an open session that evening for citizens to come in and meet the candidates and all that. Those dates are kind of arbitrary at this time, but we're looking, I think, towards the end of August is when those interviews and stuff will take place. If you think about it, July 15th closing, and we got, by that time we could have upwards of 50 applicants that we'd have to narrow down to what we want to interview. So, that time frame's there. The placement of a new city manager is really kind of dependent upon where that individual comes from. If he or she is local, it may be one of those that transition could be as early as the first part of October. If it's somebody from out of the area, a lot of those have pre-employment arrangements where they have to give 2 months or whatever. So we could be looking more like November timeframe. So the end date is kind of arbitrary, but the dates leading up to that are pretty firm.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Polk Quincy Viaduct? That's been a concern. It seems like it's kind of died down. Is the city and the KDOT, are they working together? Is it still a good relationship? How soon do you think these streets could get opened up down there?
Well, the streets hopefully will be opened up here relatively soon. We meet daily with KDOT, and but that partnership was really forged when the Polk Quincy Viaduct really started, and we have developed a tremendous relationship building up. So when this happened, the communication process, we were already in constant contact. So We feel very confident about that. They are planning on removing the guardrails on the parts over Kansas, Van Buren, and I believe Jackson Street here relatively soon. Hopefully they can get that started next Thursday, I think is what they were hoping. So when those railings come off and the structure is secured, again, at that point, we'll be able to open up. They're going to start with Kansas, the ones over Kansas first, because that's the primary artery for downtown and city of Topeka. So we're very confident in what we're being told by KDOT. We have a great relationship, and that partnership is just getting stronger. The unfortunate thing is because the Polk Quincy Viaduct, the way it is, we can't move it up. There's just no way with all the other things that have to be done, utilities, relocations, and demolition process. So we're very confident that everything is good to go with KDOT and the city of Topeka.
Has there been any discussion of moving everybody over to 470, or I guess that's always on the table as an alternate route, but nothing permanent like that?
The conversations we had with KDOT so far, they're confident in the structure. Again, that thing is constantly being evaluated. They constantly are looking at what's the best plan, what can we do to facilitate. The main thing is facilitating traffic flow. We have to maintain that, and so that's really taken into consideration. But they also take in the safety of the structure. They're telling us that the decking and all that's very secure. So we have not been told of any plans or anything like that to alternate traffic in any way.
Back on fireworks, do you guys have any specific fireworks that are prohibited in the city, and then do you have any crews that are going to be looking for those type of things?
There are a list of fireworks that are prohibited, and those are on the website. We don't specifically go out and seek certain fireworks or anything like that. Unfortunately, a lot of times when it comes to that time of the year, it's kind of a reactive process in which we take because there are so many calls for individuals that are shooting off fireworks outside of the timeframes and dates. And that's why we ask that people please respect the ordinance and everybody's safety and comfortability.
In the past, we have had citizens who they go to purchase some of the fireworks, and if they see some of those that are illegal and that are being sold, they will call the police department or the city hall and let us know that somebody needs to go have a visit with that vendor. So that's a real practical way to find out what's being sold on the street.
And the fire department does inspect all the fireworks stands. They have been out already, and they will step those inspections up again now that sales have started. And so they also look for those things when they do those inspections.
Can either of you address where we're at with White Lakes at this time? How is that going? And is there any announcement forthcoming on maybe what's going to happen out there? Are we not there? Or when will we maybe find out something?
Well, that's a good question. It's one of those that's on everybody's mind.
Yeah.
As you see, White Lakes is coming along very well as far as the demo process. We're still working out not us per se, but the things that are still being worked out is there is the civil suit still pending in court. And so part of that is with the potential purchaser of the property, they cannot acquire the land acquisition until all court proceedings and stuff are tied up or taken care of. And so that's what we're trying to work with everybody involved to try to expedite that process. So the sooner the better for the city of Topeka, but that's kind of where we're at on that.
Any updates on, this was one that's also kind of on the back burner, it just seems like for quite a while, but airport service to Topeka, airline, I mean, it's hard, right now, I guess United's grounding a bunch of airplanes, like 100. I don't know how that bodes for cities of Topeka's nature, but have you heard anything, or is there any movement afoot about maybe seeking airline transportation here at some point?
Yeah, the Greater Topeka Partnership and the City of Topeka and MTAA, that's one of the things that's constantly on the front burner is trying to get air service and also increase the aerospace industry out at Forbesfield. And we feel there's some good progress going in some of those areas. We're just not at a point where we can really talk about those publicly. But there are a lot of positive things, I think, that we're going to see coming in the distant near future. And we're excited about some of those things that are going to be taking place.
As a follow-up, I just think that the conversations that are being had now are encouraging and are more frequent than they have been in past years. And I think that the intent is to continue to move forward with those and not let just air service be the sole focus that we have out there in the development of that property.
But maybe have some, like aerospace industry at different times, maybe.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I keep asking about, this is my last question, I think. What about the, I got to sit in on the police community relations meeting a week ago Friday, enjoyed that, hadn't been to one. Mike was there, where are we at on that, Mayor, and are we getting close to being able to present the final draft now, and can you talk about that?
I think to check with the city manager with regards to it, bringing it forward to the governing body, I don't think it's on the agenda until later on in July. And once that is put on the agenda, it'll be brought before the governing body for consideration. But what was presented in its final form at the last meeting that the committee had is what will go before the governing body. I don't anticipate any changes that will be made between now and then.
Are you happy with the work that's been done?
Well, I'm very pleased with how Councilwoman Ortiz chaired that committee. She was very methodical, very clear on how she wanted material to be presented. She made it possible for a real review, detail by detail. It'd be a bad argument to say that we rushed through it and didn't cover one area or another. She documented it even in her final report on what date information was presented. And so she's done an excellent job with that. And I appreciate the time that Councilwoman Hiller put into it as well. I didn't leave the committee once I took mayor's office because I didn't feel that would be appropriate and put somebody else in my place there. But I do thank the people who participated and asked the questions that they did and brought subjects to our attention, because that made it their work as much as it is ours. So yes, I am pleased with the final product.
Last question I have, do either of you have an update on the Connect 55 retirement community? I know that's kind of at a standstill earlier in the year. Is there any update on that?
The calamari project?
Connect 55 over by Homer Park, is kind of construction, I know, is at a standstill at the end of December.
That's what the one out by Hummer Park.
Yeah, Hummer, yeah, that's the Calamar project.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you said Highland Park. Yeah, we have been in contact with the developers, and they have been doing small projects out there, not at the pace that we'd like to see it done. June 30th was kind of their first timeline of things that they gave us and what they wanted to have accomplished, and that, so we will be re-engaging them as to see where they're at. But the other day, we did have an inspector out there, and there was new flooring that had been delivered. There was a small work crew that was out there working. So they are working on the project. We'd like to see it be going faster. But we've been told they've obtained their financing and all that other stuff, so we anticipate work picking up relatively quick.
Is there a completion date at all that's set?
But not at this time.
Okay.
Anything further? If not, well, thank you very much for attending and appreciate your questions. Have a great holiday and safe one as well.
And don't shoot fireworks outside of